Hi there. It's been a long time. I haven't really posted any new content, been very busy with multiple projects. Decided to make a very special video by end of this year. My viewers are asking me on how to put this unit into bridge mode. And Happy New Year's, everyone, by the way, before I forget to mention that. And yeah, let's talk about this. Let's talk about the things I want to mention about this before I show you on how to put this into bridge mode. So, this tutorial applies to the Hub 3000 and 4000, and I'm probably gonna be mentioning Giga Hub most of the time throughout this video. Anyway, so bridge mode. Little secret. This unit is always in bridge mode. I am not making this up. It is kind of funny. It's always in bridge mode. Kind of. I don't know if even you can call it bridge mode, but it's always in bridge mode. And Bell does not talks about this openly. There is no material on their website to my knowledge. Kind of embarrassing when you look at Rogers Bell. Rogers literally has material, manuals, photos, or screenshots on how to turn on and turn off bridge mode on their gateway units that they currently have in production. So that's kind of embarrassing, Bell, that you're not really have this kind of content out there. But anyway, I digress, as I would say most of the time. So that is that for bridge mode. Bypassing. I won't be bypassing this unit. I won't be talking about it. What do I mean by bypassing? Disconnecting the SC fiber cable and connecting it directly to SFP plus transceiver on your pfSense box. And that process is kind of expensive depending how you do it. It is technically possible. I might make a video in the future, but you don't want to do it because it's against terms and services for most ISPs. Another reason you don't want to do it, you're obviously going to lose the, oh yeah, that's another thing. You're going to lose IPTV, but there is a way to pass through IPTV VLANs through your pfSense and through the switch. That's another thing I won't be talking about, but there is a way of, passing VLAN traffic that Bell uses for their IPTV. By the way, Rogers has way better implementation of their IPTV than Bell. I would say it's so much easier and better to deploy Rogers IPTV than Bell's IPTV. But once again, I digress. So back to my bypassing topic. Another reason you don't want to bypass the Giga Hub is probably Bell has tools and services, or whatever you want to call it, implemented on their gateway units where they can monitor the connection quality, do testing, and detect potential issues before they happen. I hope Bell has some kind of procedures implemented, because I know from my previous experiences, Rogers apparently doesn't have those types of features or services or procedures or whatever you want to define them implemented on their DOCSIS infrastructure for business and consumer market. And one more thing, why are we putting this in bridge mode? We want to avoid something called double NATing. Double NATing is when you have two routers or two NAT services behind one another. So NATing is basically a technology, or I don't want to go too deep into it, but basically your router has a NAT functionality. And when you have a router behind a router and you got a private IP address, that's called double NATing. Well, technically, to be honest, when now I'm thinking about that term, it's not a really good definition. But yeah, you want to avoid double NATing. The bad thing about double NATing is when you getting a private IP address on your secondary router from the first router. And that's what most people are probably experiencing when they're adding their own router to the Giga Hub and they're configuring DMZ on Giga Hub. That's not a good approach. You shouldn't be doing that. They have to port forward here and there. It's kind of funny. But yeah, that's the main reason. The reason we want to put this in bridge mode is to avoid double NATing, and our main goal is to get a public IP address on our WAN interface of the pfSense box. Also, I want to mention something else. When you finish configuring your pfSense with PPPOE credentials and you get your public IP address on your WAN interface, you actually have two public IP addresses. You will also continue to have a unique public IP address on the Giga Hub as well as your pfSense box. So it's kind of crazy. Bell giving out double IP addresses to the gateway unit and the pfSense box. So looks like Bell is not running out of IP addresses. That's another reason why Bell still hasn't implemented IPv6 probably. It's kind of embarrassing. I want to mention this earlier. We're entering into 2024 Bell, and you're still not supporting IPv6 for the residential market. Kind of embarrassing, I would say. You are providing that feature, that IPv6 for business, but residential market also needs IPv6. We want to eliminate NAT. Some services like Xbox need to use IPv6. So please, well, I don't know why I'm even begging, please. Was that even begging? But yeah, come on, guys, get with the program. Start using IPv6. Roger's been using IPv6 for past decade for consumer market or specifically residential market. TechSavvy been using IPv6 for the past decade, if I'm not mistaken. Quite embarrassing, Bell. Very embarrassing, in my opinion, I would say. Also, you might want to call Bell and ask them to disable the Wi-Fi service, specifically the hidden Wi-Fi service for the TV. You might not even have that feature enabled if you don't have their TV service, but still give them a call, ask them to disable it. The reason why we want to disable it is we don't want any additional interference in our Wi-Fi network, especially when we're using our own enterprise Wi-Fi access points. If you do have TV service from Bell, you probably don't want to disable that, obviously. But you obviously should be okay disabling the Wi-Fi in the Bell Giga Hub that I'm about to show you in this tutorial. And another thing, you might have an option, and you should be able to use an Ethernet cable to connect the Giga Hub directly to the TV box to get network connection if you're having problems using Wi-Fi on your boxes. And at that point, you can call Bell and disable the Wi-Fi because you're going to be hardwired in to the Bell Giga Hub for the TV service. Also, I might make a video eventually in the future on how to configure VLANs on pfSense and the Ethernet switch and maybe the Wi-Fi access point if you want to have your Bell TV box connecting to the switch or connecting to the Wi-Fi. Also, I forgot to mention, because I'm falling asleep here, it's literally 2 a.m. right now. I was looking at my YouTube Studio analytics and it came to my attention I have to ask for my viewers verbally to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Therefore, if you find my content helpful and useful, please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. And that's it for that. And yeah, let's get to it. So the first thing we want to do for best practices, we're going to do a factory reset on the Bell Giga Hub. Okay, so here's my Giga Hub. I'm going to wake up my unit. And I'm going to scroll all the way down to, let's look for this option. Here it is. Factory reset to default. Oh, excuse me. Reset to factory default. I'm going to hit OK right here. And I'm going to scroll up. I'm going to say yes, hit OK again. And it's going to ask me, are you sure you want to do everything? Yes, I am sure. And let it run. This might take, depending what it's doing, this might take 15 minutes. And I'm also going to show you to what LAN port to connect this. Here's that 10 gig LAN port where my unit is connected to. I don't even have phone service. That's what the green jacks are there. They're completely blank, and then my fiber connection. But yeah, that's the 10 gig you want to go to. If you cannot use 10 gig for whatever reason, because your network card in your router is not backwards compatible, you can use any of these yellow Ethernet ports or jacks, whatever their technical name is. And yeah, that's basically it for the factory reset. You're going to get a little welcome screen here. And I'm going to get back to my workstation. Forget to mention, after you do factory reset, you need to get the password for the web interface of the Giga Hub. But after you do factory reset, you're going to be greeted with this menu here with network name for the Wi-Fi and the password for the Wi-Fi. In this case, we're going to go back, hit again, and I'm going to scroll down for, should be here. Here you go, modem password. Hit that, and that is the modem password. Take a picture of that because we're going to need that. Now I'm going to be using my computer to access the Giga Hub web interface through this chain, and your pfSense WAN interface should be set to DHCP client. If for some reason you're not able to access the web interface of the Giga Hub from your system through your network, you can just take your computer, connect it directly to any of the LAN ports on the Giga Hub, and access the web interface that way. And let's get to it. So I'm just going to use a basic web browser, as long as it works. I guess I didn't double click on that. And I'm going to type in this internal IP address. And this IP address applies to the Hub 3000, 4000, and the Giga Hub. And as we all know, this web interface is boring as hell. We can see that the internet is up and running. I'm going to click on that. It's going to ask me for the password. And we're going to use the password that I got hold of earlier. In my case, I'm just copy and pasting this, log in, get out of here, Edge. It's going to ask us if we want to set this up right now for recovery. I don't want to set this up right now. And right here, user ID. This is your PPPOE username. Okay, I wasn't too sure where to cut this video in, but I guess I'll do it here. So I was about to go live with this video, and my friend tells me there's a possibility of getting hold of PPPOE password from Bell yourself without them even giving them a call. So basically, when you sign up for Bell services, you get access to their portal, the self-help portal, whatever you want to call it. So when you log in here, and I need to log in actually, you'll be presented with these few options, and you want to scroll down until you see your PPPOE username. So this whole section is basically managing your internet services through web portal using Bell. And you want to look for this option right here, change modem access password. This is a really bad naming convention. It should say something like change PPPOE password. So you want to click on this option right here. You want to enter the new password you want to use for the PPPOE with Bell. Hit save. Give it a few minutes for the changes to propagate. You're also going to get probably a message telling you need to change the new password on the Bell Giga Hub. And yeah, after giving it a few minutes for the changes to propagate, you can go to your pfSense box and use that new password to gain access to Bell's infrastructure. Also, if you want to continue using Bell Giga Hub as a secondary gateway, you're also going to need to change that PPPOE password here as well. And also, you definitely want to change the password because the password Bell gives you by default is very poor. It's something basic as Canada 123 or Bell 123. Write it down, call Bell, and ask them or tell them you need credentials for the PPPOE. They're not gonna know what the hell you're talking about, I swear to God. Tell them you have the username. They'll find this username and they'll find the password. The password could be something as basic as Canada with a capital C, Canada 123. I swear to God. Welcome to the IT world. IT is a really broken industry. This username format without the domain name is strictly for consumers. If this was a business class, it will be something like client name, something like, let's say, tech for you, TYU at bell.net or Sympathic or some other domain name, basically. So yeah, get the username, give them a call, tell them you need your PPPOE credentials, you have the username, they'll give you the password. If they have no idea what you're talking about, ask for a better technician. So get a hold of that. We have that. Now I'm going to close that out. And now we need to disable the Wi-Fi. I'm going to go to Wi-Fi management here. And they have this option here for the whole house. This is like if you have the pods, the Wi-Fi repeaters, I guess you can call them. They call them pods or whatever they call them. So I'm going to disable that. It's going to give us a warning message. Yes, I am definitely want to disable that. And I'm going to save it. Make sure you save this. Close that. Now I'm going to close this and click on it again. And there should be another option here. Oh, here it is. Maybe I didn't say it earlier. Advanced settings. I'm going to click on that. Here's your advanced settings for the Wi-Fi. And yes, this supports 6 gigahertz because this is Wi-Fi 6E. And we're going to disable all of this. Going to disable this peasant class Wi-Fi from Bell. Obviously, if you're doing this, you have your own Ubiquiti or TP-Link or some fancy enterprise access points, I hope. And same thing for guest. Actually, I guess guest is already off. So guest is off, as you can see, and everything else is off. And I don't have to explain why we're shutting this off. We don't want any, well, I guess I'll explain. We don't want any additional interference in the house. But this does not disable the SSID broadcast or the Wi-Fi broadcast for their IPTV service, if I'm not mistaken. You might have to call Bell and tell them, hey, can you remote into my router, or technically it's a gateway unit. Can you remote into my gateway unit and shut off the Wi-Fi? I don't want any Wi-Fi in my house from you guys. They might say they're not able to do it, but trust me, they can. You have to ask for some high-ranking technician, whatever the term is there, but that's it. That's how you disable Wi-Fi. So I'm going to close this out. Cancel this out again. I'm going to double check now that the Wi-Fi is off. And it is off. Good. The Wi-Fi is off. The guest Wi-Fi is off. And obviously you might want to check your phone. Check with your phone that the Wi-Fi is off. Okay, that's good to know. Now at this point, you can technically go to your router, your pfSense router. But while I'm here, I'm going to check a few things. So we're going to go to settings right now. And one thing I want to disable right away, you don't really need to do it, but I say disable it anyway for best practices. And I presume you're not going to be using the Bell Giga Hub as a net device. Disable this and disable this for security reasons. And also, one thing why it's good to have access to this web interface, if you go to diagnostics, actually not this, that's the wrong feature. I didn't want to go in here. Close that. Status. You can see your interface status. You can see that I'm connected to the 10 gig right now. You can see I passed the traffic. You can see the MAC address. You can see the optical interface. And the most important, I have 0 errors here for receiving and sending packets. So everything looks good from here. Wi-Fi, we don't care about this. This thing is disabled.
The next morning.
But anyway, I digress. So close this out. One thing you might want to disable when it comes to security, not disable, change when it comes to security, when you go to modem preferences, you might want to change the default password. Just a good practice, just change that default password. After you change that default password, we're gonna go to the pfSense box. Also, I wanted to mention something. If you click on my devices, you can see there's one Ethernet device connected, and if you click on that, you can actually confirm the host name of your pfSense box shown right here. Obviously, I'm going to be censoring this out for security reasons probably, but you can see right here my router that is connected. And obviously you can, assign an internal IP address to it, static internal IP address, or change it. But yeah, that is that when it comes to the Giga Hub. It's really basic, boring, limited router out there. And I'm not surprised why people want to bypass this. Not bypass it, but, put this in bridge mode. Okay, so after logging into your pfSense or OpenSense or some other third-party router, I want to look at my interfaces. So I'm going to navigate to status and interfaces. In your case, you probably have your Giga Hub connected to the WAN interface, but in my case, that's my Rogers interface. For me, I have to scroll down to WAN 2. And you can see right here that I have internal IP address from the Bell Giga Hub. And this is big no-no. This is called double natting. Once again, this is what we want to avoid. You can see my MTU is 1500, keep that in mind. And you can see my connection or my medium type is 10G base SR. So this is a 10 gigabit interface on this pfSense. Let's go back to the top. Go interface, select the interface where you have your Giga Hub connected to. In your case, it's probably WAN For me, it's WAN 2. And by default, you probably have DHCP selected for both connection types. For IPv4, we're going to be changing this to PPPOE. Scroll down to PPPOE configuration. We're going to copy the username that we saw earlier on that web interface of the Giga Hub. And for the password is the password that I got hold from the technician when I called Bell and I asked them what's the credentials for the PPPoE. And that's basically it. One thing I'm going to enable here, and I recommend you do same thing, is this option right here. Basically, if you read it, whenever Bell starts supporting IPv6, they will give you IPv6 prefix / IP address through IPv4 connection link, and you will see your IPv6 address on your WAN interface. So now after once again enabling this, I'm going to scroll down, hit save. Now I'm going to hit apply changes. Give it a few minutes, a few seconds, depending on the performance of your pfSense box. Now at this point you're finished, and I'm also going to verify that it's working by going status, interfaces. Before I scroll down to Bell interface, I want to show you something on my Rogers interface. So if one day Bell's going to start offering IPv6, you're going to have your IPv6 address right here, basically. You can see my local link IP address. You can see my IPv4 IP address right here. And you can see my MTU is 1500 because I'm not using PPPoE for Rogers connection. So there's no need for extra overhead traffic. And I'll explain this in a minute. So now I'm going to scroll down to Bell. You can see my Bell, PPPoE up, status is up. You can see our local, public IP address, version 4. This is what we were aiming for. At this point, you are finished. You know that it's working. You got your public IPv4 right here, not local like this one right here. And I'm actually going to talk about this right now. So this is a local class A IPv4 for gateway interface. And obviously this is a local link. This is not public IPv6 right here. Don't get too excited when you see this with FE80. This is basically for local communication on the same network. And your MTU is 1492. You can definitely change this, but you shouldn't be changing this. If you change this to 1500,
you're gonna have a bad time.
The reason it's 1492 is because the rest of the MTU is being used for the PPPoE overhead traffic. In my opinion, PPPoE is really old technology. No one should be using PPPoE. Really kind of killing performance of your network. But anyway, I digress. Let's continue with my gateway thing. So the first time I saw this gateway IP address, this local class A, I thought to myself, I never saw this on Bell Internet Connection. I have set up multiple Bell Internet connections for business clients of ours. So I was like, this is really interesting. Even some of my friends that have Bell Internet Connection here in GTA, they don't have a local IP address at all for the gateway. It's a public IP address. So I'm not too sure what Bell is doing here. But so when I saw this once again, I thought that this Giga Hub was my gateway unit. So I was like, okay, so I guess this gateway unit is doing routing, whatever. I don't really care as long as I have a public IP address on my WAN interface. But then I decided to ping that IP address. So I'm going to diagnostics, ping. I'm going to select, actually, I'm going to paste the IP address right here. And I'm going to select the proper interface. You want to ping out from the same interface where your gateway is. So in this case, WAN 2. In your case, it's going to be WAN. And I'll hit the ping and give it a few seconds. So right here, you can see I have my result. 3 pings. It's 1.7 milliseconds. You have to love Linux for this, Shows you in decimal points versus in Windows just doesn't show you decimal points. But anyway, I digress. So you see 1.7. So this ping is a bit too high to be local IP address pinging to the gateway unit. So I'm definitely not pinging the gateway unit for my pfSense box. I'm definitely pinging somewhere on Bell's infrastructure. I just don't understand why they're using a local class A IP address instead of a public IP address. And just to show you that this is definitely, you know, on their infrastructure, not local, you know, on the long, I guess, I'm not sure what the right term here is. I'm going to ping my file server. So this is my TrueNAS file server. Pinging the wrong network in the wrong device, but there we go. That's the right IP address. This is my file server. Let's ping there. The file server has copper, and you can see it's 0.400 milliseconds basically. So this is copper for you. So this tells me definitely that I'm pinging locally versus having 2.4 or having 1.4 milliseconds versus 0.4, 0.2 milliseconds. And if I even ping, let's say my computer that is fiber, my computer has a fiber card. Oh, not a fiber card, but it's a fiber connection. I get even slightly lower ping. And the funny thing is, some people say direct attached copper is better than fiber, but I did some research, some testing like that, and in my conclusion, fiber is better, lower ping than direct attached copper, but I digress. But anyway, whatever. So yeah, that's basically it. Hope you enjoy watching this. Don't forget to subscribe. Happy New Year's.
Take it easy, make sure everybody has a good time.
And I'm out of here.